Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
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 Welcome
Welcome.
to
I'm not doing that shit.
Mainly Murder with Meg and Mum. Meg.
That would make me Meg.
Meg's mum.
It's just so silly. I think I'm just tired.
Yeah,
It's a
bit
long drive
delusional.
here.
It is, well,
It's going to be nice that you're driving my way next week.
yeah, and then you have to drive into the city.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Okay. I don't like driving in the city.
Either do I.
Oh.
Haven't done it in donkeys.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was in the city.
Nope. Same.
Christmas
No.
work party.
When we went to cash the Crown vouchers on our way back from
Well, that was this
being
year,
on
wasn't
the
it?
Spirit of Tassie. Yeah, February.
Mine
But that was just a drive into the Crown car park,
yeah.
go up, spend the stupid voucher, and then leave again.
Ours was the place I was working at in 2021. The Christmas party was at the Sofitel.
Yeah.
Non-for-profit organisation that has their work Christmas party at the Sofitel.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Anyway, stop whinging.
we are in Australia today with this case.
We've always been in Australia, kid.
With this case.
The accents might have given it away.
No, we were in America last week
Take your word for it.
with the Yuba County 5.
Okay.
So today we have the story
With
of
the what?
the Yuba County 5.
Okay.
The 5 boys that went off into the mountain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, went up into the bush
Mountain.
car. Yep, I remember
The
now.
bush car, yeah.
I remember something about the
Babushka.
car. There was no damage to the under the car
Yeah.
and yada yada.
And it's
Other than that, that's all I've got for you.
oh my God. Okay. So we were talking about John Wayne Glover,
Oh, not Gacy.
not John Wayne Gacy. Look at you
Aren't you
knowing
impressed?
things.
I knew the 2 out of 3 of those names were familiar.
Well, no, this is John Wayne Glover, and he was a Australian serial killer.
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
there you go.
yes, I think he counts as a serial killer.
How many's got to be serial? More than 2?
3.
More than 3 or 3 in total?
3 or more makes you a serial killer. But then there's like how Martin Bryan killed obviously more than 3 people, but it was all at once, so that's like a spree killer.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyway, so John Wayne Glover was born on the 26th of November 1932 in Wolverhampton, England. His father was an abusive alcoholic, and his mother, Frida, sounded like a bit of a mess.
oh,
She was described as having a powerful and suffocating influence on him. She was,
so he was a mummy's boy.
well, I can't even fucking remember this story. I only researched it the other week.
Oh, it's hereditary.
Oh my God,
Oh
it's
my
the
God.
fucking memory loss. She was known in the family. Oh, yep.
Flashback.
Yep, flashback to now. She was known in the family for her many relationships that involved passionate affairs, bitter breakups, and tumultuous relationships.
So she was a bit of a hoe on Dad.
She was a bit of a mess. She was all over.
Well,
the
that's not a
shop.
mess. That's a hoe.
Well,
She's married with a kid and she's rooting around left, right, and centre.
I think her and the dad had split up.
You
And
didn't
then she
say
was
that.
like,
You just implied she was a hoe.
well, maybe they didn't. I don't know. We'll find out together.
Okay, let's find out together.
Frida had an unpredictable nature and led a chaotic home life. In his teens, John was described as considerably attractive and charming. He was about 6 foot tall, lean and muscular, with dark, thick brown hair and piercing green eyes.
Okay, sounds all right so far, but then you're going to show me a picture. I'm going to go, bleh.
Oh, there's a lot of pictures of him like old.
Oh,
So during his teens, he started committing petty crimes, including stealing clothes and handbags and vandalism. He also dropped out of school at the age of 15. In his early 20s, John did
but that's pretty normal for that era.
in the, what did I say?
Well, you said he was born in 1930, so would have been 1945.
40s, 50s, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I think even Pa finished school at like 15 or 16.
Oh, I thought you meant the petty crime.
No, you fuckwit. You said he dropped out of school at 15.
No, that was normal.
That's normal for that era.
And especially men. Like, they'll probably just be like, I'll
Yeah.
go fucking build a house or something.
That's what you do when you drop out of school. You go, fuck it, let's go build a house.
No, but like, you know, like they go into like some sort of trade.
Yeah, all right, keep
Anyway,
reading.
by his early 20s, John did
Did
compulsory.
John did.
John did compulsory military service in the British Army and served in the Korean War.
Hang on, why'd you say he was Australian then?
He was born in England.
Okay.
So he was born in England and then he comes to
and
Australia.
he kills here.
Yes.
Right.
He was then discharged after discovering his previous crimes.
Oh.
In 1956, John decided he needed a fresh start and moved to Australia.
Aha.
He first lived in Melbourne and gained employment. His occupations are
Is it Melbourne or Melbourne?
Melbourne.
But there's no I in it.
There's no I in team either.
Why do you say Melbourne when
don't know.
it's got
Melbourne.
Melbourne is O-U-R-N-E?
Because that sounds weird.
It's Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Melbourne, mate.
His occupations are undocumented, but most likely he was in some sort of manual labour.
Mm-hmm.
In 1957, he was convicted of larceny for theft and stealing. Now, there is a legal difference between theft and stealing, apparently.
Okay.
Legally, theft can encompass a broader range of dishonesty offences, including larceny, robbery.
Robbery? Hope you didn't get caught for robbery. What'd you do? I was robbery.
Including larceny, robbery, fraud, and more, while stealing specifically refers to the unlawful taking of another's property. So theft can be like hold-ups and robbery and fraud, where stealing is like, I took your
undies off the clothesline.
Yeah, I was going to say apple pie off the windowsill.
Oh, my God. What were you born in 1957 yourself?
Yes.
Idiot. Apple pie off the fucking windowsill.
So this started his long list of crimes in Australia, which included arrests and convictions for assault, theft, and indecent exposure.
Oh, that can be as much as peeing on your own front lawn, though.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't have to get so excited.
No.
But yeah.
No, the company I used to work for, like, it was a disability company, and we also had like registered sex offenders that needed supports as well. And this one guy wasn't allowed into the community without a support worker, but he had like I don't know what his official diagnosis was, but I think he just like dropped his pants in a park and now he's on the sex register list.
Oh, okay.
So
no, one of a friend of mum's, their son the police saw him piss walking into his driveway. They had a big fence and they saw him go around the corner rather than towards the house. And he got nabbed for pissing in his own front lawn behind a massive fence.
But then you can sunbake nude
which is
in
bullshit.
your own property.
Yeah. Yep.
So if it's a dick, it's indecent exposure, but if it's titties
if
in the sun.
Out, come on, aliens.
In 1962, John was convicted of assaulting 2 women, indecent assault, bodily harm, and 3 counts of larceny. For these crimes, he received a 3-year good behaviour bond.
Oh, of course you would.
At some point in the mid to late 60s, John moved up to Sydney. In 1968, John married Gay Rolls, and they apparently had an idyllic life in an affluent Sydney suburb of Mossman. Mossman.
Pretty sure it's one word.
Mossman.
Correct. Mossman.
Not Mothman.
No, it's not like Glen Waverley. It's Mossman. Mossman.
After they got married, they lived with Gay's parents, and John apparently did not get on with his mother-in-law.
Oh, of course not. No one gets on with your mother-in-law.
I like my mother-in-law.
Okay.
The couple had 2 daughters and moved into a comfortable home in Mossman. John started working as a sales rep for the 4 and 20 Pie Company.
Oh, love a good 4 and 20 pie.
He was a sales rep.
And sausage roll too.
And this is not a food podcast.
No. If it was,
we'd be great.
Sponsored by 4 and 20 pies.
Sponsored by McDonald's.
Oh, yuck.
He also volunteered at the Senior Citizens Society. He was described as a charming, dependable, friendly, and trustworthy.
Oh, yeah, of course he was.
In 1976, Frida, John's mother, came out to live in Australia with them, but she sadly died from breast cancer in 1989.
Oh, that was a short and sweet inclusion of mum in the story.
Well, she moved to Australia and then
I was going to say something and then it was over before it was out. I was like, oh, I better not make that comment now.
Oh, she was
been and gone.
76 to 89. Like, she had a bit of time in Australia.
Oh.
Over 10 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, 1989 was a big year for John. His mother died and some urges in him started becoming too hard to suppress anymore.
Oh, right.
On the 11th of January, 1989, 84-year-old Margaret Toadhunter was walking down Hale Road, Mossman, where she was seen by John. He parked his car near her and started walking towards her. He punched Margaret in the face and stole nearly $200 from her purse.
See, fuckwits like that. I have no people that attack old people are just the absolute scum of the earth.
Well, he is the scum of the earth. So he took $200 from her purse and then went and spent it at the Mossman RSL.
Oh, you fucking prick.
On the 1st of March 1989, John left the Mossman RSL. He really likes the RSL.
Clearly.
And spotted 82-year-old Gwendolyn.
Oh, you gutless little fuck.
Oh, he's just such a piece of shit.
I hope when the end of the story is someone saw him do it and they beat the fuck out of him and he died. That's how I want this story to end.
Okay,
Yep.
We'll see.
Put a pin in it.
Yeah, put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it.
So he spotted 82-year-old Gwendolyn Mitchell Hill walking down the street. John went to his car and got out a hammer.
Oh.
Which he then hid in the waistband of his pants. He followed Gwendolyn to her apartment door. As she went to open the front door, he hit her with the hammer on the back of the head.
Jesus Christ.
He continued to strike her about the head and body, breaking several of her ribs. He then fled the scene, taking her handbag, which had about $100 in it.
You wouldn't be able to stop me if I saw someone doing that to an older person.
No.
And if it was to my mum, fucking God help you.
Oh,
you would not get out of there with your limbs attached, with your eyeballs in your eye sockets. None of it. You'd be fucking, couldn't even tell you.
I just started twitching then.
Yeah, no, couldn't even tell you. They say mothers get strength when something happens to their kids. It's the same, the reverse the other way. If they do something to your parents or, like I said, the elderly. Like that time we were at the hospital when Dad had his heart attack. And Mum and I walked to the car park and there was another couple from Mum and Dad's retirement village. He was in hospital and she left at the same time as us. Was in her fucking 80s. And she'd parked around the corner from where we were in this dark car park. There wasn't a light in it. And there was one other car, 2 cars down from her. And so I put Mum in the car because we were in the street.
You stay here, low.
Yeah. I said, you sit in the car, lock the door. And I walked her to her car.
Yeah.
And then walked back to Mum once she'd got in her car, locked the door.
Yeah.
And I walked back because it was like, there's no way known I was going to let you just walk around the corner into a dark fucking car park.
Like vulnerable as well. Like they're not.
100%. I thought that when we did the shops, Mum puts her purse down as if everyone's trustworthy. No, trust nobody.
Trust nobody.
Trust nobody, people.
So Gwendolyn.
Anyway, Gwendolyn, yeah, let's get back to her. I'm getting angry now.
Gwendolyn was found alive shortly after by 2 young boys who called the police and ambulance, but sadly she succumbed to her injuries shortly after the emergency services arrived. The police ruled this as a mugging gone wrong, and with very little evidence or any eyewitness testimony, the case went cold. There was now a little bit of unease in the community as now there had been 2 attacks on elderly women in the same suburb.
Oh, okay. So
they're all in like this Mossman area or like the next suburbs.
Yeah.
Like they're all in the one area. On the 9th of May 1989, John attacked 84-year-old Lady Ashton. That's a very regal sounding name.
It is.
Lady Ashton.
It just shows what a gutless little prick he was, though.
That's the thing.
Go
when
a
it's
fucking
like
40-year-old, mate. Have a real go.
Yeah, have someone that would be like on your same bar, not 80-year-old women. She was on her way home in nearby Raglan Street. He put on a pair of gloves and followed her into the foyer of her apartment where she was attacked with his hammer.
Jesus Christ.
He threw her to the ground and dragged her to a rubbish bin alcove where he repeatedly hit her on the pavement. She had almost overpowered him until he fell on top of her and started to hit her head against the pavement.
Jesus Christ.
After he knocked her unconscious, John removed her pantyhose and strangled her with them. He then placed Lady Ashton's walking stick and shoes at her feet. He left her purse with about $100 and headed to the Mossman RSL.
Oh, of course he did.
Where he had commented to staff that he hoped the sirens outside were not because of another mugging.
Oh, for God's sake.
This guy's a douchebag.
Can we just jump to how they get this prick?
Well, that would defeat the purpose
I know,
of the
but
story.
I'm getting angrier with every fucking story.
You're going to be very angry by the end of it.
Jesus Christ.
The police found Lady Ashton lying face down diagonally across the concrete floor of the small bin alcove. A pool of blood was around her head. The pantyhose was strung so tightly around her neck that it cut through the skin.
Oh.
And her bare legs were crossed and her arms placed by her side. At this point, the police concluded that they were facing a serial killer. To date, all 3 victims were wealthy, elderly women from the same suburb and were all assaulted or killed.
Hang on, they're all wealthy, but all he took was the like $100 or $200 that they had in their purse.
Well, they might have had more in the
bank. But I'm saying for wealthy women, he just took what was in the purse. So he had no idea what he was attacking by the sounds of it, because otherwise it would have been just go random. To the bank, get your money out, then I'm going to kill you.
On the 6th of June 1989, John molested 77-year-old
God.
Marjorie Mosley at the Wesley Gardens retirement home in Belrose. Marjorie reported to hospital staff and police that a man had put his hand under her nightgown, but she could not remember what the man looked like. On the 24th of June, he visited the Caroline Chisholm nursing home in Lane Cove, where he lifted the dress of an elderly patient and fondled...
How the fuck do you just walk into these places?
Wow.
As if you fucking own the joint and go up to people. How's that possible?
Because of his job. A lot of them, he was a sales rep for 4 and 20 pies. So he was going in like...
Well, I'm tipping retirement villages.
They love their fucking pies.
Oh, I know. Nan does, but Jesus Christ. Anyway, this story's pissing me off. Come on, keep reading.
So he lifted the dress of an elderly patient and fondled her buttocks.
Ugh.
In a neighbouring room, he slid his hand down the front of another patient's nightgown and stroked her breasts. The woman cried out for help and John was briefly questioned by the hospital staff before leaving. On the 8th of August 1989, this is all in like 1 year as well. We're still
How old was this fucking asshole at this time?
He was born in 32 and this was 89.
Oh, so he was like 50.
Yeah, he's old.
He's fucking not old if you
Sorry.
don't mind, but yeah, no, he's like in his 50s. So
yeah, like he's not like a lot of the
he's
serial
not
killers
a
are young, like
40-year-old
20s.
doing all this weird.
Yeah, no, he's in his 50s.
Still a weird little fuck.
He's 57.
That's what I mean. He wasn't a spring chicken. He
No.
wasn't like these creepy ones that you hear. They're like 28 and they're doing this weird shit
Yeah.
to old people. He's just a pathetic, slimy little prick.
Yes. On the 8th of August 1989, he assaulted Effie Carney in a back street of Linfield on Sydney's Upper North Shore. On the 6th of October, he pretended to be a doctor and ran his hand up the dress of Phyllis McNeil, a patient at the Wibena nursing home. John left when Phyllis, who was blind, called for help.
Jesus.
On the 18th of October 1989, he followed...
Jesus Christ, he didn't even stop for a nap, did he?
No.
He just kept going where he could go.
Yeah, he was just like on a fucking weird rampage.
Wasn't he just?
On the 18th of October 1989, he followed 86-year-old widow Doris Cox along Spit Road, Mossman, to her retirement village. In a secluded stairwell at the front of the house, he attacked her, ramming her face into a brick wall where she fell. Although she survived the assault, she was not able to provide a clear description of her attacker or recall the event.
How did he get away with so many of these instances? Surely they were looking around at this point and keeping an eye on old people's homes and
You'd think so.
areas with old people, because that seemed to be his MO.
Yeah.
Gutless little turd.
On the 2nd of November 1989, John approached 78-year-old Lane Cove resident Dorothy Bennick while she was walking home in a quiet back street. John engaged her in conversation and offered to carry her groceries home for her. Dorothy then invited him inside
Oh, Dorothy.
her house for a cup of tea as a thank you,
No.
but he declined.
What?
He declined.
Why?
I don't know.
Too easy. There was no fight, challenge or sneaking up on her.
I don't know. While he was walking back, he came across 85-year-old
God.
Margaret Pahud. She was hit on the back of the head with a blunt instrument, and when she collapsed, he struck her again on the side of the head. John rearranged her clothing, shoes, and walking stick, took her handbag, and headed off to the Mossman RSL
Of course he did.
to spend the $300 that he had stolen. Within minutes of the attack, Margaret's body was found by a young schoolgirl who at first thought the body was a pile of clothing. For some reason, the neighbours washed down the crime scene before the police arrived. Like, washed the blood away and stuff.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just 24 hours later, John struck up a conversation with 81-year-old Olive Cleveland while she was sitting on a bench just outside the Wesley Gardens retirement village. Olive got up to head back to the main building when John grabbed her from behind and took her to a secluded side lane. He then hit her and repeatedly pushed her head into the concrete before he removed her pantyhose and tied it tightly around her neck. Once again, he rearranged her clothes, shoes, and walking stick, and then...
How many people is this so far that this prick's...
4.
Oh, is that all? Seems
yeah.
like more.
He then took the $60
Oh, fewer
from her
some.
hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
$60. Some were just touching fiddles, weren't they?
Yes, touching fiddles. Now with 4 murders, the police had transitioned into a full-scale manhunt for
Oh,
the granny killer.
Good on him.
Specialized units including forensic experts, behavioral profilers, and experienced homicide detectives were brought in to help with the investigation. They were now also offering a reward of $200,000 for any information leading to the capture of the granny killer. Only a few weeks later, on the 23rd of November 1989, John was sitting in a Buena Vista hotel when he saw 93-year-old
Oh my God.
Muriel Falconer. He went to his car and grabbed his gloves and hammer.
Oh, and his trusty hammer.
He then snuck up on Muriel, who was partially deaf and blind, as she was opening her front door. He put his hand around her mouth to silence her before repeatedly hitting her around the head and neck
It's so
with his
sad
hammer.
that so many of these old people are alone.
Yeah.
That there's no one there, like that. This 93-year-old's out walking on her own. She's got her children aren't around, her grandchildren aren't around. Like, I'm not saying you have to be with your elderly all the time, but I'm just saying it's just
sad
odd
that
that
they
so
are.
many of them
Well, that's why
have no support. Yeah,
he was
easy
just
targets.
opportunistic. Yeah,
Mhm.
he was just like, oh, well, that one's old and alone.
Yeah, exactly.
When she fell to the floor, he began to remove her pantyhose. As he did, she began to regain consciousness and cried for help. This prompted John to hit her multiple times with the hammer until she finally passed out. He removed her undergarments and used them to strangle her. He then searched her purse and the rest of her house for valuables before leaving with $100.
Oh,
The following afternoon, the body was discovered by a neighbour who entered using his spare key. The crime scene was left undisturbed and investigators were able to collect forensic evidence including bloody shoe prints. The police were struggling to find any solid leads for a suspect, and the elderly community of Sydney was now too afraid to leave their homes.
yeah, bet they were.
By Christmas, the reward for information was increased to $250,000. Also, during the late 1980s, John was diagnosed with male breast cancer.
Good.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer
Couldn't
bloke.
happen to a nicer fucking asshole.
He and his wife also had separated, and she had moved her and their 2 daughters to New Zealand.
Oh, fair enough.
Apparently, after taking a break for Christmas, John attacked again on the 11th of January 1990.
Well, you can't attack during Christmas.
It's Christmas.
It's a season to be jolly.
'Tis the holy season.
Okay.
He visited...
Weird. Tis the holy season.
Tis
No, not
Jesus'
really.
birth.
Yeah, okay.
He visited the Greenwich Hospital in River Road on his pie sales rounds. He was in his work uniform and carried a clipboard and entered the hospital's palliative care ward, where he held four elderly and ill women, including 82-year-old advanced cancer patient Daisy Roberts. After he asked if she was losing any body heat, he pulled up her nightgown and touched her in an indecent manner. Daisy panicked and called for help, upon which a nurse found John in the ward. When confronted, he ran from the ward, but the nurse was able to record his car registration number
Oh, good.
and notified police. The hospital staff were also able to identify and name John Glover, as he was known for doing his pie rounds.
Yeah. And he was in his little uniform, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, fuckwit.
A week later, the police returned with a photograph of John, which both the nurse and Daisy positively identified. Although this was a significant breakthrough, the hospital assaults were not linked to the murders, nor reported to the murder task force for 3 weeks.
Oh, come on, people.
Once they were linked,
Ah.
detectives contacted John and requested he attend an interview at the station the following day. When he failed to appear, the police rang his home and were informed by his wife that he had attempted suicide by overdose and was recovering at the Royal North Shore Hospital. Police went to the hospital to see John, but he declined to be interviewed. He
Just wasn't in the mood, or
Look,
just
no
sorry,
paparazzi,
not
please.
well. No, yeah.
He did permit them to take a photograph. Staff at the hospital handed police a suicide note written by John. In the middle of the page on 4 and 20 Pie's business paper were the words, "No more grannies," and Essie started it. Essie was John's mother-in-law, who also died in 1989. We don't know if I don't know if he murdered her.
Okay.
John was eventually interviewed over the nursing home assaults and denied all accusations. Police had limited evidence and decided not to question him about the murders, which would have revealed to John their suspicions. He was put under constant police surveillance, including at one stage with an automatic tracking device. On the 19th of March 1990, John visited 60-year-old Joan Sinclair, with whom...
She would have been his own age.
Yeah.
She wasn't a granny.
Well, they had
possibly was a granny, but...
platonic relationship. They were friends.
Mm.
By this stage, police had John under constant surveillance and watched as Joan let John into her home at around 10 a.m. By 1 p.m., with no sign of movement in the house was seen. Police and the surveillance team became concerned at around 5 p.m. and got permission to enter the house at 6 p.m. 2 uniformed police knocked on the front door to no answer, and when they looked through the rear glass door, they saw a hammer lying in a pool of dry blood. 4 detectives searched the house and found Joan's battered head wrapped...
Oh, you said at the start of that she was his friend.
Well, she
obviously
apparently was.
Friendship means nothing.
Wrapped in a bundle of blood-soaked towels, she was naked from the waist down and her pantyhose were tied around her neck. After finding Joan's body, police searched the house for John, who was found unconscious in a filled bathtub. He later told police that he had murdered Joan Sinclair and said that they had been having a relationship for some time. He said that he beat her...
Well, a bit like your dad. Can't dispute stuff if you're dead.
Well, yeah. He said that he beat her around the head with his hammer, removed her pantyhose and strangled them with them. John rolled her body onto a mat, wrapped 4 towels around her extensive head wounds to stem the flow of blood, and dragged her body across the room, leaving a trail of blood. He ran the bath, swallowed a handful of Valium, slashed his wrist, and then laid in the tub to die.
Well, obviously slashed the wrong way. Went across instead of up.
Probably.
Well, if he
Attention.
If he was there in the bathtub taking his drugs and supposedly slashed his wrist, he should have been dead.
Wait, he got there at 10 a.m. and the police went in at 6.
6.
So,
but you said he was still alive at 6 o'clock.
Well, it's probably a bit of a Catherine Knight effort.
What?
Catherine Knight effort. How
Who
she
the
took all the
fuck's-
drugs, but she's like, oh, I don't remember anything. I blacked out. His trial started on the 28th of March, 1990, and John pleaded not guilty
Oh, of course.
to his crimes on the grounds of diminished responsibility.
Piss off.
A psychiatrist said John had built up hostility and aggression against his mother since his childhood. This continued against his mother-in-law, who was said to trigger him. When she died, he had to take out his aggression on someone else. Surely, like, if the people in your life that you're pissed off at are now dead, like, why are you pissed
why are you
off?
still angry?
Yeah.
How are they pissing you off if they're not there?
The Crown prosecutor maintained that he was well aware of his actions. When he killed, he was planning what to do with the victim's stolen money and took the time to clean his hammer with acid to destroy any forensic evidence. After the deliberation, the jury came back with a verdict of guilty for the murders of the 6 elderly women.
I'm guessing deliberation took about 25 minutes and that was stopping for coffee.
Yeah, probably. 82-year-old Gwendolyn Mitchell-Hill, 84-year-old Lady Ashton, 78-year-old Margaret Pahud, 81-year-old Olive Cleveland, 93-year-old Muriel Falconer, and 60-year-old Joan Sinclair.
His friend.
He's alleged was in a relationship with.
He said they were friends.
And then he said they were in a relationship.
And he still killed her with his trusty hammer.
Justice Wood stated that he was dealing with an extremely dangerous prisoner. He is able to choose when to attack and when to stay his hand. He is cunning and able to cover his tracks. It is plain that he has chosen his moments carefully. Although the crimes have been opportunistic, he has not gone in where the risks were overwhelming. The period since January 1989 has been one of intense and serious crime involving extreme violence inflicted on elderly women, accompanied by theft or robbery of their property. On any view, the prisoner has shown himself to be an exceedingly dangerous person, and that view was mirrored by the opinions of the psychiatrists who gave evidence at his trial. I have no alternative other than to impose the maximum available sentence, which means that the prisoner will be required to spend the remainder of his natural life in jail. It is inappropriate to impose any minimum term to be served before release on parole. Having regard to those life sentences, this is not a case where the prisoner may ever be released pursuant to any order of this court. He is never to be released.
Good. We
John-
should have got 6 life sentences anyway. So
Yeah,
same
exactly.
difference.
And he's in his 60s. He's going to die in prison.
So,
John was imprisoned at Lithgow Prison, where he was held in a maximum security prison cell with 6 life sentences. In May 2005, John collapsed in his cell and was placed on suicide watch after telling prisoners, "I've had enough. I want to kill myself."
good. Let someone else do it.
Yeah. He was examined by a mental health review team and monitored by closed-circuit
What
television.
a waste of fucking money.
Exactly.
Seriously, why waste the government's money on assessing some cunt that's in jail for killing 6 people?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
If
you smash your own head against a brick wall,
Do
we don't feed you anymore.
One less prisoner.
What a waste of money that was.
Well, he was also given medical examinations as a follow-up to the 2 cancer surgeries he had undergone the year before.
Let him die.
On the 10th of September 2005, John Wayne Glover was found dead in his Lithgow maximum security prison and pronounced dead at 1:25 p.m.
Okay.
The 72-year-old was confirmed to have hanged himself.
Cool.
Got
no problem with that. I would have left a belt for him. I would have gone, here, I'm just come to visit. Here's a belt. Do with it as you wish.
Do what you want.
Do what you feel necessary. There's a beam across your bed there. Off you go, mate.
The guards are going on break.
Yeah.
The cameras are
between
down.
12 and 12:30. See you then.
Days before John killed himself, he handed his last outside visitor a sketch of a park. He noted 2 pine trees in the image. In the middle of the right pine tree, the number 9 could be seen between leaves and branches. The number 9 is said to represent either the total number of murders or the number of unsolved murders committed by John. Unsolved murders that he may have committed include 78-year-old Emmy May Anderson from East Melbourne on the 19th of October 1961. There was a short article from the East Melbourne Historical Society that reads, "Mrs. Emmy May Anderson, with her round chubby face and twinkling smile, was everyone's picture of a grandmother. She was 78, devoted to her grandchildren and interested in church activities. She was a type..."
Like myself.
With a chubby face, yeah.
Hey, I like my grandkid. It's just that last bit, that whole church activities kind of threw me.
She was the type of woman who would not pick an argument with anyone.
Oh, no, that's
That's
not me.
not you.
That's not me.
She was a simple soul. You're a simple soul.
I'm a simpleton.
With simple tastes and interests. Unfortunately, rumours had swept the inner suburb of East Melbourne that Mrs. Anderson had a lot of money stashed away in her Clarendon Street flat.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Anderson leased the Clarendon Terrace apartments and sublet them. Naturally, she collected rent and she often kept the money in secret pockets in her clothing.
Oh, jeez.
However, Mrs. Anderson was no hoarder and the money was kept in the flat and the money she kept in her flat was not worth killing over.
Well, it would have been to this fuckwit he killed for $100.
Yeah. Her killer could not have believed that, and Mrs. Anderson was stabbed to death in her flat on the 29th of October, 1961.
Yeah, but he wasn't a stabber. He was a hammer.
He was a
hammer and strangle.
But this was like years before, so maybe...
Well, it was a bit much for him, so he thought, I'll just bludgeon with a hammer instead.
Or maybe, they kind of figure out what they like.
I'm not giving him credit for that one. I don't think that was him.
However...
He was broken into a musical.
Mrs. Anderson was wearing a nightgown when the killer struck. She apparently was in bed when disturbed. However, Mrs. Anderson was stabbed only once, a thrust below her left shoulder blade near her heart. The killer thread apparently escaping with about 30 pounds.
God.
Officially, the murder investigation is still open. The police file on Mrs. Anderson's murder reads, Emmy May Anderson, 78 years old, 210 Clarendon Street, East Melbourne, apartment house proprietor. At 12:30 p.m., 29/10/61, the body of Anderson was found in her bed just at the above address. It was an upstairs bedroom. She had been stabbed in the chest with a knife. So you're stabbing, not really his MO.
Yeah, I don't think it's him.
But it wasn't 60s, where he went on his big brain page in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Who knows?
The
next one was 61-year-old Irene Kiddle in St Kilda on the 22nd of March, 1963. Irene Alice Kiddle was stabbed 3 times in a laneway beside Florida Mansions at 601 St Kilda Road on the 22nd of March, 1963.
So those two could have been a different serial killer.
Well, yeah, because he was in Melbourne. Irene had been at a bridge game during the evening and arrived back near the Florida mansions at around 12:30 a.m. Irene was then attacked in the laneway, being stabbed in the chest, abdomen and back. There was seemingly no motive and nothing had been stolen.
Oh, wow. That was just for the fuck of it.
Yeah. 63-year-old Elise Boys in Paran on the 3rd of June 1967. I could find no details of her murder.
Oh.
I just know her name, her age and where it was, when it was. 63-year-old Christina Yonkos in Albert Park on the 9th of April 1968. Her death in 1968 ranks among the classic mysteries where a husband returned home from work to find his wife strangled and dead on the floor. Did she know her killer? Did anyone see anything from the time Mrs. Yankos returned from a local milk bar till her husband arrived home? So far, nothing concrete has turned up to assist detectives.
Sure wasn't the husband?
Police file read, Christina Yankos, 63 years old, 106 Merton Street, Albert Park, at 4:30 p.m. on 9/4/68. The body of the deceased was found lying on the kitchen floor by her husband when he returned home from work. She had been strangled about 3 or 4 hours earlier. She was last seen alive at midday when she visited a local milk bar. Possibly strangled. 70.
You can't just put his name down for everything because they weren't able to solve other stuff.
But they might put these like on their list because he was like living in that area or working in that area. 78-year-old Florence Broadhurst in Paddington, New South Wales on the 15th of October 1977. Florence was an Australian painter, wallpaper and fabrics designer and vaudevillian singer, dancer and musician, as well as a businesswoman, charity worker and teacher.
God, she'd have been exhausted.
Just after 4 p.m. on the 15th of October 1977, 2 customers came past Florence's wallpaper business. They found it was empty, so they left. The next morning, a neighbour had realised that the factory lights had been on all night. With an uneasy feeling, they called the police. Constable Tony Russell, who'd only joined the force that month, was one of the 2 detectives sent to investigate.
Oh, that's not good.
They went into the factory through the unlocked door and started searching the premises. Constable Tony Russell discovered Florence's battered, lifeless body jammed behind a bathroom door.
Oh.
Her body was slumped over the toilet and her head was in the bowl. The coroner's summary report laid out the findings. It appeared that the deceased had been battered about the head with a piece of timber, and an attempt had apparently been made to drown her by plugging the toilet pan with clothing, filling it with water and forcing the deceased's head into that water. There was no trace of water in the lungs, and the doctor formed the opinion that the death was due to the fractured skull and brain injury.
God.
John Wayne Glover was interviewed in connection with Florence's murder, but he denied knowing her or visiting her factory. That is, until it was pointed out that he owned Broadhurst print curtains. That he owned curtains by her. So, yeah, I guess a very slight connection. 72-year-old Josephine McDonald.
Jesus Christ, these are all just unsolved murders you're reeling off at this point.
Yeah. Josephine McDonald in Ettalong, New South Wales on the 29th of August 1984. Josephine was raped and strangled to death in her home.
Yes, he wasn't a rapist.
Well.
Yeah, well, nothing. You never mentioned rape in one of the instances.
But he fondled.
He fondled because he was too gutless to do anything else. Took their stockings off and used it to strangle them, but you never once said there was a sexual assault.
No one has been charged with Josephine's murder, but it is believed she is a victim of John Wayne Glover.
No.
Okay. 83-year-old Wanda Amundsen in Umina, New South Wales on the 21st November 1986. The body of Wanda was found by police in Umina on Friday night after an anonymous tip-off from a woman who said she had not seen Mrs. Amundsen for several days and feared for her safety. Police who investigated the ransacked home in Nelson Street found the widow's crumpled body in a hallway. She had suffered a single fatal blow to the head. Homicide Squad detectives are urgently seeking the woman who made the telephone call at 5:25 p.m. on Friday for further questioning. It is believed she left a false name and address.
Oh.
And that is John Wayne Glover, the Sydney, the granny killer. Did you look up a photo of him?
Oh, no. Hang on. Oh, yeah, he looks like a cunt.
The granny killer. But imagine being like nearly 60 and being like, well, gonna start murdering.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't even that good looking as a younger fella.
No. Well, if you'd like to see his photo, it'll be on our Instagram, which you can follow at mainly_murder. Or if you go to our Instagram, we've got our links to Patreon and buy us a coffee and still no carrier pigeons.
Oh, my God.
We have a lot of magpies, but there's been no pigeons. I haven't seen a pigeon in a while. They're like dying out or something.
Oh, my God. Shut up.
I haven't seen a pigeon in a while.
Gotcha.
Are they recharging their batteries?
You're an idiot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can contact us on Instagram or Patreon or Facebook, or you can email us at mainlymurderpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Are you scratching your face with a middle finger or giving me the middle finger?
No, I was scratching. I had an itchy nose, whatever. I don't know. Side of my eyes. Shut up. Just say goodnight and be done with it.
Good night. It's the middle of the afternoon.
Whatever. You know what I mean.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, no, we'll see you
Next Tuesday.
next Tuesday. Goodbye.
Bye.